Good evening. Welcome to APTN National News. I'm Melissa Ridgen. Who is truly Indigenous has become a contentious issue when it comes to hiring on university campuses. A few weeks ago, Queen's University endorsed a report on Indigenous verification, but a non-status First Nations community in Ontario is taking issue with that report. APTN's Fraser Needham explains.
Ardoch Algonquin First Nation lawyer Christopher Reid doesn't mince his words when talking about the First Peoples Group report, or FPG.
It's quite shocking, actually, that a university, let alone a university like Queen's, which wants to be seen as a great institution of higher learning, that they would, at the highest levels, receive a report that is almost comically filled with errors on the central facts.
The report was released last month and says the university should rely on local Indigenous communities to verify indigeneity of new hires. It used Ardoch as an example, saying, "The Ardoch First Nation Community Services Organization is a non-for-profit corporation with letters patent issued under the Ontario Corporations Act. The AFNSC would not be recognized under reference of Nations of Tribes in Royal Proclamation of 1763. Meaning Ardoch is not a recognized First Nation but a corporation." Reid says the only problem is the corporation the report refers to is long dormant. It was never a governing council of Ardoch in the first place. He also says the FPG report ignores previous court decisions.
They also claim in their report that there's simply no such thing as a non-status First Nation, that only Indian Act bands can be First Nations, which is, again, even 30 years ago, that would have been a pretty far-fetched proposition. And we know now that the courts in the last 30 years have firmly rejected that idea.
Reid says Ardoch has no problem with Queen's moving away from Indigenous self-declaration to a system that includes verification checks, but by fully endorsing the report, the university is opening the door to problematic behavior.
In which people who are Indigenous but don't have membership in an Indian Act band are being challenged by vigilantes to produce proof of their indigeneity, which is really bizarre because having an Indian Act status card is not proof of Indigenous identity at all.
Ardoch has formally voiced its concerns with the report and asked Queen's to reject it. Reid says Ardoch is considering its legal options. Fraser Needham, APTN National News, Ottawa.
It's been 4 months since the Mohawk community of Kahnawake voted to exhume a buried priest. This morning it finally happened. The remains of Father Leon Lajoie were relocated to a Jesuit cemetery 65 kilometers north of its original resting place. Lajoie, a Jesuit priest, was buried on the grounds of the St. Francis Xavier Mission in Kahnawake in 1999 after numerous allegations of sexual abuse against him surfaced late last year. The Jesuits of Canada hired an independent firm to investigate. The results of that investigation were inconclusive, but the community voted in April to remove Lajoie's remains regardless. Some members feel that the Kahnawake burial should never have been allowed in the first place.
We never agreed to have him buried here in the first place, in the first place. And then we had our Native women who were not allowed to be buried here because they married out. But they let the priest be buried here. They actually begged for him to be buried here, which wasn't right. And there was protesting at the time, but they did it anyways.
A high-profile missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls advocate accused of faking her disappearance and her son's is likely to be spending at least the next several weeks in an Oregon jail. Dawn Walker had her first court appearance on charges relating to the abduction of her son. Advocates, family, and law enforcement searched for the Saskatoon woman and her 7-year-old son for a week. They were found on Friday in Oregon. Here's more from Leanne Sanders.
Dawn Walker is now facing U.S. charges related to her disappearance. The U.S. Attorney's Office in Oregon filed documents in court Monday. They state that Walker is a flight risk and that she should be kept in custody until her next appearance on September 7th. She was formally charged with knowingly producing a passport of another person and having ID which was stolen or produced illegally. If convicted on those charges, Walker could face several years in a U.S. jail. The documents also allege she faked her death and that of her son. Included in the evidence are lists found in notebooks allegedly made by Walker on how to disappear. Special Agent for the Department of Homeland Security, Clinton Lindsley, also states in an affidavit that when he told Walker during her arrest that people presumed she and her son had died in the river, Walker allegedly replied, "He doesn't want to be with his father." According to the documents, Walker and her son's father have been involved in a lengthy custody dispute. Her son was brought back to Saskatoon Saturday and returned to his father, Andrew Jansen. Saskatoon police said yesterday that Walker faces charges of parental abduction and mischief and expressed that more charges may be coming. Meanwhile, supporters of Walker have been holding walks and rallies bearing signs of "I stand with Dawn," and a GoFundMe campaign for Walker's legal defense has raised almost $17,000. Requests for an interview with the boy's father, Andrew Jansen, have been declined. Leanne Sanders, APTN National News, Saskatoon.
Over to Quebec now, where the Mohawk community of Kahnawake is in impasse regarding the results of an independent forensic audit of pandemic spending. The new chief and council says there's proof of wrongdoing, while the former chief and council insists that everything was done according to the rules. Lindsay Richardson explains.
It was in the height of the pandemic, the opening of an internation vaccination clinic on Kahnawake Mohawk territory. But in the fifth wave of the pandemic came an election, and with it, a change of hands over at Mohawk Council. The new team's campaign promise: investigate pandemic spending. Jeremy Tomlinson is a former Mohawk Council chief. He initiated an independent forensic audit of council spending of pandemic funds and says he was disturbed by the findings of the audit into the Emergency Response Unit, or ERU.
There, I had conducted a preliminary examination of the financial situation related to the pandemic response.
APTN received a summary report presented to the community. According to the document, nearly 40% of the total amount allocated for salaries and hiring of casual help went to 3 people in management positions. A review of $1.4 million found 35% were paid personally by ERU members and reimbursed without formal expense reports. The auditing firm also noted that several journal entries were recorded to move expenses from one department to another, which, quote, appears to represent attempts at camouflaging or hiding the nature of such transactions. But some of those targeted in the audit are questioning the process and the choice to release only a portion of the findings to the community.
I mean, it stinks from beginning to end.
Former Kahnawake Grand Chief Serge Simon denies the allegation of wrongdoing. His signature is one of 8 on a rebuttal document issued by the now disbanded Emergency Response Unit, calling the audit a one-sided and self-serving, incomplete document that does not accurately portray the situation, insisting ERU members have done nothing wrong. According to the ERU, salaries and top-offs were signed off on by the federal government. They say transactions made off books or on personal credit cards were made only when buying products needed immediately, and that ERU staffers were only trying to keep up with a rapidly evolving situation.
They could have presented this in another way and let band members determine for themselves.
Indigenous Services Canada was aware of the Kahnawake allegations when contacted by APTN and say the department is taking appropriate actions. About approving top-ups and salaries, ISC clarified in an email that Council determines its employees' salary scales. Further complicating matters, ISC states Kahnawake was allocated over $5.1 million in pandemic funds, which is just over $300,000 more than the amount stated in the forensic audit. So what happens next? That's up to the authorities, who received a copy of the audit and a request to investigate. Quebec's provincial police force, the Sûreté du Québec, confirmed with APTN News that an investigation is underway, but would not comment further for confidentiality reasons. Lindsay Richardson, APTN National News, Montreal.
Thank you, Lindsay. Well, the former CEO of the Fort McMurray Métis Group in Alberta, along with his wife, have filed a $10 million lawsuit. Named are the RCMP, the Métis Nation of Alberta, and its president, Audrey Poitras, as well as others. This move came after 2 charges of sexual assault were dropped. APTN's Chris Stewart has more.
Dwayne Roth was charged with 2 counts of sexual assault in 2020. A woman alleged that he sexually assaulted her at a party and at a hotel in 2017. He lost his job as the CEO of the Fort McMurray Métis Group as a result of the charges. In June of this year, Those sexual assault charges were withdrawn before his trial began. A month later, he filed a $10 million lawsuit against the RCMP, the Métis Nation of Alberta, and its president, Audrey Portra, along with several individuals. He alleges that the RCMP failed to interview witnesses and did not properly investigate.
The police didn't look into it enough. They could have seen that there were some holes in the case. They should have looked at it better. They should have investigated, talked to some of the witnesses, any of the witnesses, even asked me. They never come to talk to me about the case until I was charged.
According to the statement of claim, there was a conspiracy amongst Portra and other individuals to fabricate the sexual assault allegation. The conspirators agreed to fabricate the sexual assault, intending to cause direct damage to the plaintiff and, by extension, indirect damage to the family plaintiffs. The conspiracy. As a result of the conspiracy, the plaintiffs have suffered damages. He is asking for compensation for loss of past and future income, as well as damage to his reputation.
As a result of being charged, I was fired from my job, and no fault to Fort McMurray for firing me. I mean, it was very serious, and it harmed their ability to conduct business when their CEO is facing such serious charges. So they had to do what they felt they needed to do, and as a result, my income was affected, my future income is affected, my mental health was affected, my poor wife, had to go through, she stood by me all the way through, right by my side, because she knows in her heart what did not happen, what the truth is.
The RCMP head office did not reply to APTN's request for comment. The Métis Nation of Alberta says they will not comment as the issue is before the courts. Chris Stewart, APTN National News, Edmonton.
We need to take a short break, but there's lots of news still ahead, so stay with us. Minister of Crown Indigenous Relations joined the Manitoba Métis Federation in Winnipeg to announce housing initiatives. $32 million will go toward housing priorities for citizens of the MMF. The announcement took place at a 6-unit development in the Métis community of St. Boniface. It will be completed this fall. This year's federal budget allocated $190 million for Métis institutions and governments across Canada to address housing needs. MMF Minister of Housing and Property Management says it's critical in improving social and economic well-being of the Métis community.
These long-term commitments, built through a framework of nation-to-nation, government-to-government partnership with the Government of Canada, are an excellent start to tackling our nation's housing needs. And they are essential to helping us continue to serve Red River Métis citizens in one of the most important areas of life, safe and secure homes in our own homeland.
Shout out to whoever made that vest that Mr. Godon was wearing there. Well, Wet'suwet'en Hereditary Chiefs continued their Across Canada Nation to Nation tour with a stop in Winnipeg on Tuesday night. Dozens of supporters turned out to hear from Wet'suwet'en Hereditary Chiefs, matriarchs, and others. They're on a cross-country tour raising awareness and garnering support for their fight against the Coastal GasLink pipeline project. They've already visited communities in Ontario and Quebec. Those leading the tour say CGL is currently preparing to drill under the sacred Wet'suwet'en Kwa, also known as the Maurice River.
My biggest worry is that once that pipeline goes through, we're not going to be able to drink that water anymore. It's going to be contaminated. Another thing we're so worried about is our fish.
As BC government leaders warn residents to be prepared because the wildfire season is heating up, fire crews are now battling a major fire in the northern part of the province that's threatening to cut off several communities. APTN's Lee Wilson has more.
Yesterday, air tanker skimmer groups were pulling water from Kitsamkalem Lake to battle a fire near the community of Rosswood, BC. There are about 150 residents that live there. According to BC Wildfire Service, there are 18 crew members on the scene, with 8 more on the way. The fire is next to the Nisga'a Highway, which is the only road in and out for 4 Nisga'a communities. The fire is currently 50 hectares in size and is now classified as a smoldering ground fire due to firefighter suppression. The BC Wildfire Dashboard shows there are 51 active wildfires in the province, with 10 starting in the last 2 days. The majority of the fires are the central and southern regions of the province. This year, more than half of the BC wildfires were caused by lightning. 40% are human cause, and the rest are unknown. Last week, BC government leaders held a press conference to warn the risk of wildfires remains high, as August weather conditions are hot and dry. Mike Farnworth, Minister of Public Safety, warned anyone under an evacuation order to leave immediately, and other residents to be prepared.
If you've not already done so, now is the time to take 20 minutes out of your day and put together an emergency plan, including packing a grab-and-go bag with all necessities so you are prepared if your situation changes suddenly.
We will continue to provide updates on the wildfires affecting BC. Lee Wilson, APTN National News, Kitimat.
We need to take one more break, but when we come back, a sneak peek at a new documentary getting rave reviews about land defenders in the Amazon rainforest. Stay with us. Welcome back. It's time now for our photo of the day. Nuka Bolt shared this great shot from Kugaruk Nunavut. This is her first catch with a kivak. That's an Inuit tool that is used for short-range fishing. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that, Nuka. If you want to be featured as our next photo of the day, you can email to share@aptn.ca along with a location and a description of your photo. Let's take a look now at tomorrow's weather forecast. Off to the east coast, we've got 17 in showers for St. John's, 22 with mix of sun and cloud for Halifax. Happy Valley, Goose Bay, sunshine and 24, Cartwright, 26 and sunny. Settles, rain and 20 degrees, 26 in Gaspé. Ottawa, showers and 25, Peterborough, 26 and sunshine. Kapuskasing, 20 and sunny, Big Trout Lake, 24 and sunshine. 26 and sunny in Churchill, 25 for God's Lake, Norway House and Thompson. 24 and sunny for Winnipeg, 26 and sunshine for Dauphin. 31 and mostly sunny skies for Saskatoon, 32, you got sunshine there in North Battleford. 29 and showers for La Ronge and Buffalo Narrows, 25 and showers for Stony Rapids. Sunshine and 27 expected for Fort McMurray, 18 and showers for High Level and Fort Chip. 28 and a chance of showers for Edmonton and Red Deer, 35 and sunny for Medicine Hat and Lethbridge. 33 and showers for Kamloops, 28 and showers for Quesnel. 20 and showers for Fort Nelson, 27 and a chance of showers for Prince George. Dawson City and Mayo both 21 and sunny skies, same with you in Watson Lake. 24 and sunshine for Wrigley, 19 and a chance of showers for Yellowknife. 22 and sunny for Fort McPherson, Paulatuck, showers, 12 degrees. Whale Cove, 20 and showers, same with Chesterfield and Baker Lake. Igloolik, 19 and showers, Kenite, sunshine and 13, Joe Haven, 20 and showers. The Territory is a new film earning incredible reviews after debuting at this year's Sundance Film Festival. It's partially shot by Indigenous land defenders in the protected Amazon rainforest that's been illegally burned and farmed, as an Indigenous community risks their lives to set up their own news media team in hopes of exposing the reality there. Here's a clip.
A floresta, os rios, é a nossa casa, onde a gente se mantém.
Que o Urueu-Auau é como se fosse uma barreira. Tudo desmatado.
Ela é, para mim, no meu ponto de vista, o coração, não do Brasil, mas sim do planeta em geral.
O sonho brasileiro de quem está vivendo aqui é ter seu pedacinho de terra para poder trabalhar, né? Tirar ali o seu sustento.
Joining us now is director Alex Pritz. Thank you so much for being here with us. So this was shot over 3 years in part by the Jupau, I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly, surveillance team, a group of Indigenous land defenders in Brazil. Can you tell us about this group and how you became involved with them for this film?
Yeah, the Uruguau are a group of 183 people who are defending an area of 6,000 square miles of old-growth rainforest. And I was introduced to them through an activist, Nadinha Bandeira, who's been working with them for about 30, 40 years, also helping defend the rainforest against invaders, illegal miners, settlers, all of the above.
And what's been the feedback so far about the film? I certainly know, after Sundance, there was a lot of chatter about it. What have you been hearing, as it's been seen by more people?
Yeah, it's out of Sundance. We got picked up by National Geographic Documentary Films, which is amazing and means the film is going to be seen by millions of people around the world. We're releasing it in theaters starting August 19th in the United States. So tell your friends, tell your family. Yeah. And then it'll be on Disney Plus near the end of the year. So big global release, and really excited to be releasing it in Brazil. We've had our Brazilian premiere a couple months ago. Beautiful reception in the country. And yeah, couldn't be happier.
Well, this certainly resounds with our audience here at the Aboriginal People's Television Network here in Canada. You know, we've got land defender movements going on, Wet'suwet'en, Land Back Lane. We've got the old growth forest protectors, Fairy Creek out in BC. I'm wondering, you know, do you see that people are more broadly around the world seeing that, you know, the trampling of Indigenous rights, pillaging of land and resources, that people are starting to see that this is everybody's problem, or is it moving in that direction, or do you think that there's still such a massive detachment from that reality?
Yeah, I am hopeful, and I believe that people are starting to recognize that, you know, Indigenous people and Indigenous knowledge is a really crucial thing if we're going to tackle climate change, if we're going to think about any of these global issues, and, you know, moving away from seeing Indigenous people as, you know, victims of climate change, but rather as the best hope we have as a civilization, you know, continuing to live on this beautiful planet. And I hope that people who see this film in North America and Canada are able to connect it back to the land issues that exist, you know, here in our own homes, that this is not some far-flung story, but you know, I hope people are able to think about the land back movement here and the repatriation of native land in Canada and the United States as well.
Well, we thank you for taking time to chat with us, and certainly we'll be looking forward to seeing the territory when it comes to wherever we're going to be watching from, whether it's our couch or a theater near us. Thank you so much, Alex.
Yes, thank you too.
One of the best parts about living in the capital city of Nunavut, you can walk 5 minutes in any direction and you are out on the land. As we close the show, have a look at what you can see on a short walk just outside of Iqaluit. Thanks for watching. I'm Melissa Ridgen. You have a great night.